Today we are talking about the top 7 reasons why your hair isn't holding a curl or a style and what you can do to fix it. So we're going to dive right in. I'm a licensed hairdresser. I have been for, going on 8 years now. I haven't worked behind the chair in a little bit, but I did work behind the chair for 6 years. So I have quite a bit of experience with hair. So the top reason I would say your hair is not holding a curl is that it likely does not have a medulla. The hair is made of, most of the time, 3 different portions. You've got the outer cuticle on the very, very outside of that hair shaft. Then you've got the cortex, and then a lot of people will have the medulla. But there are a few fine hair types that do not have a medulla, and you'll commonly see this in natural blondes. And so that type of hair just tends to be so much wispier and softer, and it just doesn't hold a structure as well, especially if you're trying to use heat on it. But don't fear, you can definitely still get a curl, which leads me to my next point. Hair that is too healthy does not hold a style as well. So if you've never colored your hair and you've got virgin hair that is super soft and shiny, doesn't have any damage, it's not going to hold that style as well. It's just too slippery. It doesn't have a rough texture on that cuticle. So you could always do some type of hair coloring, which will definitely help your hair to hold a style. You don't want to burn your hair or over damage it or anything like that. But I will say from experience, if your hair is too healthy, it's going to work against you as far as holding on to a style. The next thing is taking too big of sections, and I feel like I've seen this a lot, especially with random tutorials and stuff like that. You'll see like some blogger or whatever wrap a giant chunk of hair around a barrel because they're like, oh, it gives like this soft beachy look. And while that may work for a lot of people, if your hair is resistant to curling and holding a style, you need to take smaller sections because more of those hairs are going to be exposed to the heat of a barrel, and that's really going to help your style last longer. And this is another thing, it kind of rolls me into my next point. A lot of times, the barrel that you're using is probably too big for your hair. In more recent years, the really, really big barrels have become popular to get that like beachy wave, lots of body. I'm talking about like a 1 1/4 inch curling iron or a 1 1/2 inch, or sometimes you'll even see like a 2-inch curling iron. And that is way too big if your hair does not hold a curl. Here's what I will say. If you use a curling iron that is 1 inch wide and you're taking smaller sections, it might take you a little bit longer, but those curls are going to last, and here's why. When those curls start to drop, they're going to soften out and have the appearance more like the bigger barrels, and that's really, really helpful if your hair is resistant to curling. Okay, now this next point is a big one. So a lot of times you'll see those tutorials where people are wrapping their hair super fast and they want to get out the door or whatever. The problem with that is a lot of times people are not leaving the hair on the barrel long enough for that curl to set in. And then on top of that, you'll have people that start brushing their hair immediately after they take the wand off, or they'll start touching it or whatever. That curl is still hot and it hasn't had time to set. You want to let your curls cool down. I even recommend pinning that curl in place if you have the time. But the less you touch it until it is fully cool, the better that style is going to set in and actually last for you. Some people, when their hair is so fine, I recommend don't even use a brush on it to comb through. Just use your fingers and kind of shake it out a little bit so that those curls are a little bit softer. But the less you do to them, the longer they're going to last. The opposite is true too. So say you made your curls way too tight, you look like Shirley Temple, brush them out as much as you can. They are going to soften and fall. And now this one I think is super interesting, but I have found most of the time this is a big tip that will help you get your curls to last. So one of the things that I've mentioned is like, people will watch these bloggers that like just wrap their hair around real fast and then they can't figure out why their curls aren't lasting like that blogger or YouTuber or whatever. here's the thing, all of our hair is different, right? You have to learn how to work with yours. And so watching somebody else, it may not work on your hair. So what I recommend, if your curls fall out super fast, like you look in the mirror and they're gone after you've spent 30 minutes on fixing your hair, this could be a game changer for you. And let me show you. I'm going to use my T3 wand. This is a 1 1/4 inch barrel. So let me show you just a quick section of what I'm talking about and what you can do to fix it. So you'll see bloggers or YouTubers or whoever that will like take the hair and wrap it so it's like super spaced out on the barrel. And while this works for some people, it's going to create a much softer wave or curl. And then if you add on top of that, like brushing it out, it's gonna fall. It's gonna be a very, very soft, kind of weak curl. And if your hair is resistant to curling, you don't want to have it so spaced out on the barrel. So the one thing that can really change the game for you to really help your curls last and give you a lot of body is if you take a section of hair and when you go to wrap it around your barrel, wrap it so you cannot see any spaces between the hair, where it's pretty much touching all the way down. You don't want to have gaps anywhere on that barrel, okay? And what that will do, it looks really full and voluminous right now. Hold it for just a second and let that cool down just a little bit before you move on to another section. And yes, that looks so much tighter than this, for instance, right? Like, but here's the thing. If you want your curls to last, you need to make them a little bit tighter. And then when they start to soften and cool out a little bit, you can go in and comb through it with your fingers and a brush. And then it's going to start to look a lot softer and more like a wave. And as that continues to fall, it's going to look how you wanted it to initially, rather than feeling like you wasted your time trying to curl your hair. And the final, number 7 thing that I will say is that your hair is too clean when you try to curl it. A lot of people will jump out of the shower and just kind of like haphazardly blow dry their hair, and it still has some of the moisture in it, even though it looks dry. And then they'll go and wrap a barrel around it, and then it falls. Well, there's still moisture in your hair, and that's weighing the hair down. Not to mention, that can really, really damage your hair if you are putting an iron on it, and then that steam will burn the hair. So make sure your hair is 100% dry before you ever use an iron on it. But the second thing I'll say, if your hair is too clean, it just has too much slip. It comes back to like the whole damaged versus undamaged kind of similar philosophy here. You need a little grit to your hair to get it to hold. So even if you've just washed your hair, I recommend using some type of a texturizing spray. This is a great one from Schwarzkopf. It's a volume spray. It reminds me a little bit of like a fine mist hairspray, which also works great. You don't have to spend a ton on a product to get it to work. Look how much that curl has softened out. This is what I'm saying. Like, you want to be able to wrap it around the barrel to where you don't see gaps in it. But anyway, make sure your hair has something in it to help it hold a little bit better so it's not so slick that it's just gonna fall out immediately. And as an extra little bonus, I'm gonna show you 2 other tool options that will help you hold a curl better. So one of the ones that I really love is a curl wand that is shaped kind of like a teardrop, where it's real skinny at the base where the handle is and not on the opposite end. The reason is, when you go to curl your hair, the tighter portion is up closer towards your scalp. And if you have longer hair or really, really fine hair, this is helpful because when the weight of your hair pulls down, the tightness is already up here. So when that pulls down and stretches out, it creates a more uniform looking curl all the way down. Also, for whatever reason, this curling iron will hold a curl for days on me without having to touch it up. And I don't know why that is. It's just a really, really good iron. I'll link below. You can get it on Amazon. I think that's where I got it from initially. But it just makes a really, really nice curl. And so, like I said, it kind of, when the weight of your hair pulls down, it creates a more balanced curl, and it has more of like a wavy effect. The next set of tools that I highly recommend is a hot roller set, and here's why. Hot rollers are great for a couple of reasons. They are really, really fast to put into the hair. Takes no longer than if you were to use a curling iron. And also always come in from behind the roller. Don't go forward with it. You want it to stay in place. But you can get that kind of wavy effect by using hot rollers and just leave the ends out and wrap the hair around the roller. The great thing about rollers is they sit on your hair. You can do your makeup or whatever else, eat breakfast to get ready, and the hair is just sitting there warming up on the roller, and then it has time to cool down, which is really the trick to getting curls to last on your hair. So you really have to do minimal effort for a maximum payoff, and it gives you a lot of body. And then when you're ready, you can, this might not be super curly because I didn't leave it on very long, but you can get the general idea. You just simply unroll, and you'll have, I mean, it's not super curly right now because I didn't leave it on very long, and this is kind of an old cheap set. You'll get kind of that wave and bend, and then it'll actually last longer because it cooled down. So I hope that this video was super helpful with my 7 top reasons why your hair is not curling and how to fix it. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more tips like this, and I will see you next time. Bye.